Hello and welcome to Carrion Comfort Studios. My name is Wes Franks. I am the founder and creative director of said Twitch stream, Twitch channel, whatever you want to call it. And for this evening, Friday evening, we typically have Kingdom Hearts Interstitial War, but we are on a break because there is a wedding happening this weekend and some of our casts are involved with it. So instead, I am delighted, elated, honored to be joined by one Jason Cordova of the Gauntlet, also the creator of the, I would say, smash hit TTRPG game, Brindlewood Bay. How's it going, Jason?
I am very good, Wes. Thanks so much for having me on.
I'm very excited. As soon as you were going on Twitter and talking about how like we have this Kickstarter coming up, and I'd love to talk about this game and everything, I immediately wanted to jump on top of that because I love this game.
Okay, good. Yeah,
I adore this game. That's a spoiler alert for anybody out there. I absolutely love this game. I have read the main materials multiple times. The supplements are great. Everything is great, I think, about it, but I've only played it one time. I've only played it one time, and that is with my fellow The Between castmates over at Crit Fail Safe Studios.
I've been watching that. Really, really fun AP, by the way.
Thank you. Yes, Alex does such a great job.
He's great, isn't he? Yeah,
fantastic.
Or they're great. I'm not sure about Alex's pronouns actually, but
him, I believe.
Okay, yeah, he's great. I mean, this sounds like weird and conceited, but like I actually see like a lot of myself in the way Alex runs the game, and I love that. You know, it's like I kind of see like a lot of like how I run games in that, and so I kind of like vibe with how he runs the game, which is super cool. So
yeah, we were very lucky. We all came when we were having the chemistry meeting for the cast to see if we all worked out with each other and things of that nature. We all just kind of agreed. It's like, yeah, no, we're going to dress up for this game. We're going to make it as moody as possible. Like, we're going to make it as dramatic as possible. And it's worked out really well. And the system has really helped out with that, too. So go check out The Between from the Gauntlet. It's on RPG right now. They just released Season 4.
Season 3 is on Drive-Thru. Season 4 is on Patreon. Yeah.
Perfect. Patreon on Season 4. So go hit up the Patreon over at Gauntlet as well. But we are not talking about The Between today. We might talk about it later. But we are talking about Brindlewood Bay, as the cover is popping up right on the stream right there for us. Brindlewood Bay, I'm going to have you talk about it a little bit here, but I'm going to hit the high notes here. Brindlewood Bay is a cozy murder mystery game that combines Murder, She Wrote with H.P. Lovecraft. In it, you play a group of elderly women, members of the local Murder Mavens Mystery Book Club. Love that name, by the way. Amazing name. A group of elderly women who help the authorities solve murder cases in a picturesque New England town. Over the course of their investigations, they become aware of a dark occult conspiracy that connects the cases and will have to eventually face that conspiracy in order to save their community. It is written by Jason Cordova, who is here with us. The artist is Cecilia Ferry. Wonderful art, as I'm going to have playing on a slideshow on here. It's absolutely amazing art. Love the watercolor aesthetic to it. The very, like, it feels like almost Roald Dahl-esque, Roald Dahl artwork.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, absolutely. Cecilia has a very I would say it's like a whimsical style.
Yes.
Right? Very like light touch whimsical style, which is like just what I wanted for the game. So.
It looks fantastic. And then layout and design was by Harold Eckmuller, I think.
Harold Eckmuller, yes. Very talented layout art. Well, I should mention that Jesse Ross laid out the original digital version of Brindlewood Bay, but Harold is doing the one that we're going to be kickstarting later this month.
Excellent. And there is going to be a myriad of freelance writers that are going to be getting full credit on the Kickstarter.
Yeah, absolutely. We got so many.
Once it launches. Fantastic. Well, I cannot wait to talk about the system. I cannot wait to talk about all of that. But first, I would love for our audience, and I would love for anybody that is watching this or listening to this in the future, to get to know a little bit more about you, Jason.
Sure.
because I think it's important so that we can understand where the game came from and kind of those ideas and things of that nature. Understand kind of where you came from and how you kind of stumbled upon this hobby. So, what can you tell us about us? We're not trying to dox you or anything here on the internet, but like
It's fine.
your upbringing, what got you into TTRPGs and all.
Yeah, I have been playing tabletop role playing games since the fourth grade, which was about 30 plus years for me ago. It's been a while, and the very first role playing game I ever played was called Marvel Superheroes. It was a box set with 2 books. It was the advanced one. I remember seeing it in a comic book store that my dad used to take me to every weekend, and I didn't know what it was. I saw it on the shelf. I knew it was a game of some sort. I knew it had something to do with superheroes, but I had no idea what it was. Like, I just didn't even know what a role playing game was. But he bought it for me, and I read it. Still had absolutely no idea what it was. Like, I could not penetrate what this game was. But then an older kid came over and ran it for me, taught me how to do it, and I was pretty well hooked from that point on. And I made role playing games just a major part of my life. There was about 10 years or so where I was more playing board games than role playing games. But I came back to role-playing games around 2013 with the sort of, like, at that time, it was like this sort of rising kind of like indie RPG scene. And we started the Gauntlet, or the Gauntlet as it exists today. And we really focused on these indie role-playing games, these sort of like small press games that were about things not just dungeon crawling. Like, they were about all sorts of different things, slice of life games or genre emulation, like that kind of stuff, right? And it was fantastic. And we've been just kind of building out the Gauntlet as a play community since 2013, and as a publishing business just in the last couple of years. So
nice. Tell us more about the Gauntlet publishing, and not just Gauntlet publishing, but the Gauntlet gaming community is large. Because if y'all go to the website, there is a myriad of.
There's a lot to see and do.
There's a lot to see and do, which is
Right,
I appreciate that. As for one,
Right.
like, I really appreciate somebody that, like, really, they have their focus on what they want their company to be, but they have a lot of mediums, a lot of different projects that you're into, and like different businesses that you're into, and passions and things of that nature.
Yeah, the Gauntlet has, I would say the Gauntlet has like 3, I don't know, like pillars or 3 areas. We have our play community, which has a monthly game calendar where all sorts of different games, not just Gauntlet games, like all kinds of indie role-playing games are played, probably over 100 or so a month of sessions. And those are organized and they're played within a really particular kind of play culture that we're super proud of and that we've spent years developing. And indeed, a lot of the things that you enjoy in the year 2022 about role-playing games, particularly like play culture, safety, table safety, like all that kind of stuff, like that, a lot of that came from us, right? Like a lot of those like habits and things. Or we were right in there in the development of it. So we have our sort of play community. We have the second pillar is our podcasts. We have podcasts that we do. We've had different podcasts over the years, but right now our sort of main ones that we do are the Gauntlet podcast, which is sort of a general community podcast. We have Plus One Forward, which is about Powered by the Apocalypse games. We have Fear of a Black Dragon, which I am a co-host of, which is about old school modules and OSR modules. And then we have a couple of podcasts that are sort of like we revive them whenever we need them. So we have like one for the trophy role-playing game, and then we have another one coming up pretty soon for the Between, actually. So but they're all discussion podcasts. They're not actual play. They're like us discussing the games. And then the third part is the publishing part, and that got started in 2017 with the Codex magazine, which is like an indie RPG magazine where we kind of featured brand new writers and things, making like very small form games and supplements. And then we did some standalone stuff. The Hearts of Wulin game, which is a game of wuxia melodrama by Lowell Francis. We published that. Trophy, of course, is our big game right now. And then my 2 mystery games, which are Brindlewood Bay and The Between. So.
Y'all, I'm very impressed deeply with how many fingers you have and how many different kinds of pies, excuse the expression. Like, and it's a lot of stuff that I'm and I've never come across a company that is producing so many things that I myself personally am interested in. I love wuxia. Me and my friend Oz, we like absolutely love Shaw Brothers films, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, things of that nature. Romance of the Three Kingdoms, The Journey to the West, all of that good stuff. Big fans of that. And then The Between, I'm a huge fan of Penny Dreadful. It is one of my favorite television shows that was cruelly taken away from us. And then they tried to bring it back, and it was just a whole mess.
We got the LA one.
We got the LA one, yeah, exactly. So wild. And then also League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I have all the books over here on my it's. I love Victorian era. Just Victorian era, the world in the Victorian era. There's a popular meme post that goes on about how you could have a samurai, a cowboy, a French jewel thief, and like a Victorian inspector, like detective, all hang out together at the same time because of this like coalescence where all these different like empires were falling and rising and like all expansion was happening, but like the aesthetic of it, the dark and grittiness of it, the murder mysteries, Jack the Ripper, all of that good stuff.
Me too. I love all that. Yeah, it's very much my thing.
Trophy is such like a very like that system as a whole and like how it started out is like a very interesting concept of like essentially I love the subversion of tropes and like subverting big game hunting or subverting like monster hunting. I really like that, or like treasure hunting or anything like that. Like I like that subversion. And then so Codex, that's kind of where I first got introduced to you all. The Gauntlet was Codex magazine. I'm a big fan of I'm a subscriber to Fangoria, things of that nature. I love magazines. I love having them on the back of my toilet. I love having them on my coffee table. And I've always wondered why there hasn't been more companies putting out magazines.
Yeah, I mean ours is just a digital like magazine, I guess. But like I think in role-playing games, part of the trouble with magazines, and I speak from direct experience, is that I don't think there's a huge amount of demand for anthology type products in role-playing games. I wish there was. I've tried to make it more of a thing. It is just not something that people want much in my experience. Now I say that, and there are obvious exceptions out there, and I think maybe especially with the sort of like zine movement, maybe people are kind of changing their minds on that a little bit. But in general, it's kind of hard to get people to buy into something where it's like, here's an anthology of like different things, and you're gonna love all of it, but you never know what it's gonna be, right? Role players, for whatever reason, they like to know, I'm getting this game, this adventure for this game, and so it's always been a bit of a challenge, and so producing a magazine is a pretty big overhead, kind of like thing to do. So, but we do it digitally, which makes it very manageable. But we try to focus on, even though it's a digital only product, we have put out like one big physical book that collected a bunch of them, which was cool. And we've always tried to at least, if it's going to be a digital product, to make it like a really beautiful digital product, right? Like with exceptional production values, right? Like it's everything but printed, right? It's like every other thing you'd want, But
that allows you to get away with a lot more with your production if it's just digital, because you don't have to worry about physical pressings, publishings, all that thing like that, covers.
Well, and for us, Codex has always been sort of just the like it's a fun thing. It serves a lot of like cool purposes. Like it gives us a chance to highlight work that's going on in our community, the Gauntlet community that is, and highlight new authors, and importantly, it sort of helps with Patreon, which helps like pay for everything else we do in the Gauntlet, because before we got into like publishing standalone games and Kickstarter and stuff, I mean, our Patreon was it, and when we had, I would say we have one of the more successful Patreons as far as role-playing games go, but it is still like, it was still like pretty, like kind of a bare bones operation, as far as that goes, but now we're sort of, we're kind of spreading our wings a little bit with different ways of, doing things, and so we don't really need Codex as much as we used to in terms of like making, keeping the bill, the bills paid, but we love doing it, and so we've tried to like keep it out there because we think, especially for new writers, like new role-playing game writers, and even a lot of artists for that matter, like visual artists, I think it's a special thing to provide a forum for those people to like see their thing that they did like in a really nice format, like with people reading it and checking it out, you know. So we're happy to be able to do that, even though it's like I wouldn't say it's a major part of like what we do anymore as far as like our business goes, but it's in our hearts. So
I very much appreciate it, because I agree with that, especially that last statement of like being able to have somebody be able to see something like their hard work being presented to a mass group of people in a very professional way.
In a professional way, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I've had a lot of people tell me, a lot of people whose, you know, role-playing game work you enjoy right now, they got their start in our pages, you know, in Codex. And I've had a lot of those people tell me, I wouldn't have started doing this if not for the fact that I saw my work in a finished form. You know, like I saw you take something I did and make it really beautiful, and treat it like it was a really serious thing, you know, and that gave me the inspiration to like do this, you know. So I love that.
Perfect. No, completely agreed. I for one, and I think it is a excellent idea. I hope y'all can continue doing it for however long you do.
I think Codex is always going to be around.
That's good. That's good. It's very important, especially in TTRPG. We were talking before the interview about how niche it is, but it's very important to have stuff like that. That's why I've put a lot of importance on our interviews, and like I like to do like nice looking production. It looks nice, and like it sounds nice for interviews here, because a lot of times when people, especially indie TTRPG developers, the only way they can sell you on their game is through a Twitter thread.
Right. Nowadays.
And like even before then, it was forums, and you might be able to on Reddit, and you can maybe do it on Instagram, but that's
I came from like the Gauntlet started in G+, and G+ was amazing. And if not for G+ closing, I mean, so basically when G+ closed, there was a whole like huge diaspora of indie role-playing game creators who we all went in 100 different directions, you know. And like it was one of the great tragedies, I think, of our scene, that we didn't really like make plans for G+'s closure, you know, and we just sort of like went to the four winds, you know, and like there's people who I haven't even like stayed in contact with because of it. But G+ used to be a really, really fantastic space for it, and now we sort of, you know, itch.io is out there for folks who are on itch, and that's an interesting space as far as design and community goes. And then there's a lot of Twitter and other places, but we're very lucky that we were able to survive the G+ breakup because we were community first. You know, like we, you know, the Gauntlet was always going to be the Gauntlet, right? We could go wherever we needed to be, but we did, but losing G+ was not great.
Pour one out for G+. Legitimately.
A big one.
It's a big blow. Big blow to the TTRPG community. It was a big blow to my my MMORPG crew because we lost contact with a lot of people that we just had in through the game and everything. And so it's wild. But okay. Well, we've talked about you a little bit. We've talked about the Gauntlet. And do be sure to go check out the Gauntlet's Discord. Go check them out on Twitter. Go check out their website. And go check out Codex and Trophy and The Between, and you know, all of these fantastic games and these different things they're doing in the gaming community. Check it out. The Patreon, it's fantastic. It's wonderful. I love seeing collaborative spaces like this pop up. It's awesome. It warms my heart. But let's go ahead and talk about Brindlewood Bay. I gave the overview at the top of the show here. But I would love for you to kind of talk about what is Brindlewood Bay to you? Like what like you know, pitch it essentially. But what is it to you?
Of course. So the thing about Brindlewood Bay, and I know you gave us a high level view, but I would go into the details. I think it's really important to understand like what Brindlewood, like who the characters are, where they are, and what they're doing. Right. Like that's what I always want to know about every role playing game. You know. And this is a game about elderly women. You play elderly women, and they, their partners are recently deceased. Their children have long flown the nest, and they have moved to this picturesque New England town called Brindlewood Bay. And in Brindlewood Bay, they enjoy their hobbies. They rely on each other for like friendship and companionship. They sort of are making like their new life out there, right? Their essential like second life, right? Their they're sort of like twilight years, and they all have their own individual hobbies and quirks and personalities and things. But the thing that unites the characters, these women, is that they are members of this book club called the Murder Mavens Mystery Book Club. And so every Saturday night they meet and they talk about their favorite mystery books, and they're particularly fond of this series, in the fiction, this series called the Gold Crown Mysteries, featuring this particular super sleuth, Amanda Delacourt. And they've gotten so good at like mysteries that they have solved real life murder cases that the local authorities haven't been able to solve, right? And so by the time you start the game, they've already solved some murders, and they're sort of like, ready to do the next one, as they, as you're playing, if you play the full campaign especially, which is about 12-13 sessions or so, as you're playing the full campaign, the characters start to become aware that all these murder mysteries, all these murders that are happening, are connected in a way. They are connected by this occult conspiracy. The occult conspiracy, the group behind it is called the Midwives of the Fragrant Void. They are a Hellenic death cult trying to bring about the end of the world by summoning a monstrous entity from the ocean. This monstrous entity is a child of Persephone, the monstrous aspect of the goddess Persephone. And they are the midwives bringing it to the surface. They're called midwives, but they can be men or women.
Yeah.
And so as the Mavens are doing these mysteries, they get like little hints and clues throughout that there's like something else going on, right? And eventually, as you get towards the end of the campaign, they have to actually face the midwives and stop the midwives from performing their grand ritual in order to save not just the community, but the world, really, right? But the community is what we kind of focus on. And yeah, and that's kind of like the whole, like, that's what the whole campaign is, right?
Yeah.
It has lots of like interesting mechanical things that I'm super proud of, and that are truly unique in the hobby, or at least they were when they were first presented to the hobby. And lots of fantastic just like gaming tech. Like my sort of way of running games is kind of baked into a lot of the game, like just my sort of experiences and stuff, and my experience in the hobby, and a really fantastic setting, and there's just a lot to like there. It just has a great, it combines this really like cozy murder mystery feel, like you might see in a show like Murder, She Wrote, or Midsummer Murders, or like maybe even like kind of like Agatha Christie type stuff. Like it has this like kind of cozy rural country feel, and then it sort of eventually gets melded with this dark cosmic horror, type thing, and the blend is very fun, and to play, it's very enjoyable. You can play it just in a 1 or 2 shot, and you just get like the cozy murder mystery part.
Yeah.
If you do the full campaign, you get that whole full like kind of journey, which is super fun, and I'm really proud of it. People have been playing this game and loving it. It just makes me so happy that that people are still playing it. I mean, it's been out digitally for like a couple of years now, and we're getting ready to go to Kickstarter to make the big final beautiful product of it. So.
Exactly. And I'm going to ask you to routinely, have y'all dropped an official date for the Kickstarter?
We have, yes, April 26th.
Perfect.
April 26th. I'm sure we'll be able to have a link to the pre-launch page somewhere.
Yes.
But yeah, go there. You can be notified, or get notified when the campaign goes live. We will probably be sharing more details about like, I mean, I can talk about a lot of it now, but like we have a lot of things. We have a lot planned for this campaign. Like this is for us. This is the apotheosis of our Brindlewood Bay efforts, right? Like everything is going into this Kickstarter, right? As far as like making these really fantastic books. It's going to be 2 books actually, plus a little add-on thing which we can talk about, and it's just going to be so awesome. And I really hope everyone like joins us for it. I mean, there's going to be it's like taking a very, very special game and like taking it to a whole new level.
Yeah.
So.
I'm very excited. I love physical media, as you can tell. over my shoulder here,
Right,
my bookshelf and everything like that. I love physical media, and I love seeing interesting concepts, and I love how people kind of, pardon me, flip the head, and I'm guessing from what I can see from the image, the preview image of what you have here of the books sitting there, that it's going to be a very like 1980s style murder mystery book kind of style.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I am very excited. The art looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Before we get into the mechanics and everything like that, we've already talked about the art, but I just want to go ahead once again, and I just want to gush all over Cecilia did a fantastic job on the art.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the layout and the design too, because Harold, who's doing so Jesse started this, and Harold is kind of like for the new books, but basically they've gone for this like visual design language that it's almost like a cross between like a 1980s mystery paperback, like a VC Andrews kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But combined with there's also like touches of like choose your own adventure, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like it's just got like that whole vibe, and that all syncs up nicely with the game's themes, because the game has the era of the 70s, 80s, and early 90s, and particularly television of that era. It really has that baked into it, right? Like even at the system level, like that stuff is baked in there. And so to a certain extent, Brindlewood Bay is all about this like really like fantastic nostalgia, my own nostalgia, but like nostalgia. And I know that like a lot of like I know like a lot of younger players or people who are not from America, you know, they usually have to do a little bit of Googling to figure out all my references or whatever. But even if you don't know all that stuff, you can still dive in there and have a really great time with it. Like, you know, but if you want to take the journey with me on my like kind of weird pop culture references baked like all over the game, like by all means, please do. You know?
I mean, I will some notable ones to me, because and we'll talk about them more in the system. But there's Maven moves, and the Maven moves have been named after popular detectives, investigators.
Importantly, male detectives. Yes, a really intentional choice.
Yes, yes, I definitely check that. And you have like your standards, like you have Dale Cooper. You have from Twin Peaks. You have Sonny Crockett. Oh, personal favorite of mine, Miami Vice. I watched Miami Vice with my grandmother. You got Thomas Magnum PI, and then you know, Remington Steele, which is that's a little bit of an out there one. Not too much, but it's a little bit of an out there one.
It's a deeper cut of them. Yeah.
And then you have even more. You have deeper cuts with Rick and AJ and Jonathan Hart and Milton Hardcastle. And I'm really impressed by it. Somebody that I love old procedurals. I don't like new procedurals, but I love old like mystery investigative procedurals. Yeah. Like Rockford Files, things of that nature. I watched with my grandmother growing up, and so it was very cool playing this game and reading through this game and being like, yeah, Frank Columbo's there. Yep, we got Michael Knight from Knight Rider. Yeah, like all this stuff. It's very cool to see.
Well, and the abilities because like these are all the names of their moves, right?
Yeah.
Like their little abilities in the game, and the abilities I've tried to make it to where they really feel like they match up nicely with the theme of the name, right?
Yes.
You know, so the Dale Cooper one, the Twin Peaks one, is all about like dreamy weirdness, you know, or the Jim Rockford one. I don't know if you know Rockford Files, but at the beginning of every episode of the Rockford Files, there is an answering machine message of like a client talking to Jim Rockford, and so I've done this like answering machine like kind of like little, you know, move thing that happens with the Maven, and I get this question a lot. People always ask like, why are all of the Maven moves named after men when the game is about women, right?
Yeah.
And this is just my sense of humor.
Yeah.
Like my sense of humor is one that says, okay, typically in these shows, women would have been like props, right?
Yes.
Like they weren't like central characters. They were like, you know, love interests or they were like damsels in distress or whatever, right? And in this game, it's them that are props, right? Like they are the moves, they are the tools being used by the Murder Mavens, right? It is sort of, you know, it's a meta thing. Like the Murder Mavens don't actually make reference to Jim Rockford, but it's, you know, that's sort of the little joke of it. And I just like the sort of basic humor of like these big tough like action guys and little old ladies solving crimes.
Little old ladies like emulating them in a way.
It's just a funny thing to me. So,
It's great. Well, you know, I mean, I can attest to all of my both of my grandmothers. Both were big fans of like Rockford Files, Miami Vice,
Mine was
Remington
too.
Steele,
Yeah, she watched
Magnum
all those
PI,
shows.
and
Yeah, yeah.
the story was an important part of that, and like the theme, the theme song, and the aesthetic, and all this were very important of it. But the main importance to especially my grandmother Alice was how attractive these men were. I mean, my mom always talked about Tom Selleck and his mustache, how attractive he is. Sonny Croc, oh, Don Johnson, so attractive in that car. That was very great. No, wonderful. All right, well, we're already started talking about the mechanics. Let's dive into an overview. Let's get into like what it's like to play, some of the highlights and the different mechanics, and I would love to talk about the move cycle, because in your games you have a time cycle within these games that helps keep pace up with the games.
Yeah. That's much more pronounced in the between, but it's in Brindlewood Bay too, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I think probably the most important thing to talk about in terms of like what it's like to play and what the main core sort of system is, is it's a mystery game.
Yeah.
And I have traditionally had a lot of problems with investigation and mystery games and role-playing games. I don't like 99% of them. I don't think they're good.
Yes.
And so I wanted to make a mystery game that felt like you're actually solving a mystery and felt like you're actually figuring something out, like you're actually puzzling something out, right? That's something I think that traditionally role-playing games have not done a good job at. And that's because I think that those games have not considered the power of the medium of role-playing games, right? There's a medium there that you work within to get the best results, So the way I've tackled this in Brindlewood Bay, and into much more intricate effect in the between, but in Brindlewood Bay, is there are no canonical solutions to any of these mysteries. The GM, or the keeper as we call them, does not know who killed the wealthy financier from Boston. They don't know who killed the host of the Halloween party, right?
Yeah.
Or the judge at the bake-off, right? Like they don't know who killed them, We're all going to find out together. So as the player characters are investigating, they're finding clues. And then the players at some point, once they have enough clues, decide, okay, I'm ready to do a theory. Let's theorize here. And taking all the clues that they've found, they have a conversation and they come up with a theory of the case about who they think did it. And then based off how many clues you manage to work into your theory, you get to roll some dice and you get, a little bonus or whatever, depending on how many clues you got. And then that determines whether you are correct.
Yeah.
Whether you are correct, but there's a major complication.
Yeah.
Or whether you are not correct and it goes totally pear-shaped at that point, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it is. But what's really great about it is that the keeper has a list of clues, but the clues are not tied to any particular place. So as the murder maven, you can go investigate wherever you want. You can investigate however you want.
Yeah.
If you want to go look at bodies, you can do that. If you want to go poke around in the basement, you can do that. If you want to go through files or do archival research, you can do that. If you want to go talk to people, you can do that. No matter how you do it, the keeper has a list of clues, and they can work the clue in to give you a clue, right? And then you're just collecting clues, and then eventually you sit down and you have that conversation. And the feedback I get universally from everybody who plays it is, and I know because I myself play it, is when we sat down to talk about the solution, it's like we were solving a mystery.
Yeah.
Right? And when I talk about power of medium, this is what I'm talking about, because something that you can do in a role-playing game that you can't do in a movie, and you can't do in a novel, you can't do in a film, is the participants get to talk about it, right? And in a role-playing game, the participants get to talk to each other. And so I've tried to harness that medium, that bonus of the medium, that benefit of the medium, to make the mystery thing happen. And that's what it is. The players are talking to each other and puzzling it out. It's pretty amazing that the sort of suspension of disbelief that takes place at the table, because everyone knows they're not actually solving a real mystery. Right? It's a role-playing game, right? And furthermore, the keeper did not know the solution beforehand, right? But when the keeper and the players start talking about it, it has the feeling of solving a mystery, and I think that's really key to enjoying it. And I think it's what makes Brindlewood Bay special. There have been other games that have done like versions of emergent collaborative mysteries, and I love those games, and they've inspired me. But I don't think anyone's really nailed the full feeling like Brindlewood Bay has. So,
I will say, and I don't say this for a lot of game systems because I don't like to overhype things. I'm never one to bullshit or blow smoke up anybody's ass about any of these things. Like it is like, because I like to be very realistic, especially when it comes to game design and things of that nature, especially when you're selling a product. But I legitimately think that the way you've come across collaborative mystery solving, collaborative storytelling like this, and I love that collaborative storytelling is making more headway in the hobby and the industry as a whole. Because it takes a lot of pressure off of the dungeon master, the keeper, storyteller, whatever you want to call them. But B, it also makes you people feel more invested. But I think how you've come across it is actually quite genius.
Thank you.
I just recently watched Death on the Nile, which is a Agatha Christie story directed by Kenneth Branagh. And that feeling of being surprised and shocked by a mystery, because I love mysteries and I love being surprised by them, and I love having twists and turns. I never felt twisted or turned at all in that movie, even though I have read the book. Like in that movie, like even I could like set aside that from like immediately from the start, how they filmed it, how they introduced things. I was like, I know exactly how this is going to end. I know exactly who the killers are. I know exactly what's going to happen. You have made it very clear. Thank you, Kenneth Branagh. And that's very much, and mysteries are really hard to do. I have an eye hierarchy of what is hard to convey, and I feel like horror is the easiest of the three. Horror is you can make people scared quite easily, not as easily as you can make people laugh. It's much harder to make people laugh. Comedy is hard. Comedy is very
role-playing game context really
especially hard. Like having really comedy convey that doesn't feel forced or anything in a role-playing game, and then mystery, because you want it to make sense. You want it to make sense in that it's not just completely out of the blue and just a random answer. You want to be able to leave breadcrumbs, but you also want it to be mysterious enough to chase after it. And you've just nipped that one part out of the bud and just been like, what happened? And it gives replayability for the game too.
I think you can play the same mystery 10 times and you're gonna have a different story, a different solution. You're gonna have a different way of, because the way the game works is it's there are scenarios that are called mysteries, and they each have like, someone was killed, there's a group of suspects, there's a group of clues and other little kind of detail things and some other little mechanical touches, but it's all basically like 2 or 3 sheets so the keeper can kind of run the scenario. But you can run that scenario 10 times, maybe more. I only say 10 because I've probably run all of them at least 10 times, but you can run them numerous times, and you're always going to get a different result. And I think that's what makes it fun. It's almost like being able to revisit a favorite book, right? Except you're revisiting your favorite book and you're getting like a different experience, right? There are things you love about it still in there, but you get kind of a different experience. And so I just really love it. The very first podcast I did for the Gauntlet podcast back in 2015, the topic was mysteries in role-playing games. Like that was the topic. And at that time we were sort of like basically just bemoaning like the state of mystery games and role-playing games, because again, like I said, I don't like them. I don't think they're particularly good. I mean, they might be like good games in that they do certain things well, but they're rarely good like mysteries. They're rarely good investigation, right? And that's what I really wanted to that's the hill I wanted to climb. That's what I wanted to conquer. And not everybody will love this approach, but I think if people do give it a shot, you'll get it. Like as soon as you have that first conversation about what happened, who did it, you'll like totally get it, and you'll slip right into it. But it's just one part of the puzzle. Right? Yes. It's a key part. It's an important part, but it is just one thing. There's loads of other things. So
Excellent. I want to continue going on talking about the mechanics. Mystery solving is great. Use Powered by the Apocalypse system, 2d6 to roll, which is, I think, I'm so glad that there are people that are taking that and making your own. Card from Brindlewood, which also by name, wonderful name to call like your specific corner of like of TTRPG systems that we've developed. If it's carved from Brindlewood, I love clever naming, conventions. It's great. You've put cinematic storytelling at the forefront.
That is at the forefront, absolutely.
Yes.
My other game, The Between, as you know, has probably a bigger emphasis on cinematic storytelling than Brindlewood Bay does. I mean, it's the central feature of that game, I think. But cinematic storytelling is important to me. When I say cinematic storytelling, what I mean is this is a very Gauntlet play culture kind of thing. But what I mean is like we are focusing in on the big, important, memorable moments, right? We are not too concerned with like walking from here to there. We're curious. We just care about what happened once we were there, right? We're not too concerned with necessarily simulating something or replicating like real life. We are here for big moments. We are here for dramatic moments. And that's always been my focus in all of role-playing games, like the way I run them. It's a major focus of how I design them, because to me, I don't love like role-playing games that take like 5 sessions to get going, know? Even Powered by the Apocalypse games, even some of those have like kind of a build-up, like it takes a few sessions, I don't love that. I want it to be fucking amazing from the jump, right? Like I want you to get in there and be loving it like right away, I don't think that's an unreasonable request or expectation. You should love it from the moment it starts.
Exactly.
And so cinematic, so as a philosophy, is really important to me. But what it means, though, in practical terms, what it means is that we sort of bounce in and out of character as needed. Sometimes we talk about things in character. Sometimes we talk about things out of character. Because that is how we craft our story together, right? It's almost like we're making a little movie, right? Or in Brindlewood Bay's case, it's more of a TV show, but same idea. There is this. There's this aspect of the game called the crowns, the crown of the queen and the crown of the void, right? They're sort of meta mechanics. They are not in fiction things. There's not like an actual crown, right? But every maven has access to these crowns, the crown of the queen and the crown of the void. And what they are is, if you get a die roll that you don't love, you can get a crown of the queen or a crown of the void. You can mark one of your little boxes and you do what it says. And then you get to bump up your die roll, right? In The Between, it's called the Janus Mask, but it's the same concept. It was actually developed first in The Between, and then I transported it over to Brindlewood Bay. But what it does is, okay, you get a little bonus on your die roll. That's awesome. We love that. But each of the little options are things that help explore your character. So if I pick something from the Crown of the Queen is all about who is this woman as a woman, right? Like about her relationships with her family, her relationships with her kids, her relationship with her, her physicality, her love life, her romantic life, right? Like it's all about like them as a person, and particularly them as a woman, right? An elderly woman. And so you tick your little box, and it might say something like, narrate a flashback to a time when you were a bad mother, right? And so, or a bad mother or a bad sister. And so they do a little flashback, and we learn more about the character. We get this like really like intimate look at this character, and that makes us love the character more. It makes us get more invested in the overall story, and it feels cinematic because that's how movies work. We frequently get flashbacks or things like that. And it happened at a dramatic moment. It happened in a moment when the dice betrayed you. And so you get to get out from under the dice's betrayal by doing this little thing. And again, it's a sort of way of like using the medium to sort of get to certain types of story results, right? The Crown of the Void is a similar thing. It has the same mechanical result, but it's about the mavens succumbing to the dark occult conspiracy, right? So everything on the Crown of the Void alters them in a way that is disconcerting, right? So there's one, if you mark it, and forever after, you have to talk about death when you're talking with someone, right? Like, or there's one where if you mark it, when you're having your little cozy scenes, enjoying your hobbies, there's some creepy occult shit going on in the background. Again, this is a cinematic touch, right? Because it's something the character's not even aware of, but we're aware of as the viewing audience, right? We get to see this in the background. So when I say cinematic storytelling, that's what I mean. It's this it's like mechanics that allow us to make a little movie in our minds, right? So that's definitely it's a major focus of my design work, and I think it's what makes the games I think it just takes them to another level in terms of like enjoyment.
Agreed.
So
Agreed. Completely.
Yeah.
Completely. And there are definitely games that are out there that are for like more like slice of life, like let's simulate life, stuff like that. But like I'm very much in the same vein where I like to play more like bombastic moments, focused on moments. And
I like moments. I like big moments.
And it's interwoven by like coziness and slice of life, because those big moments make those other they complement each other. Excellent. Next thing I want to talk about, we have talked about visual design. I want to talk about another thing that I do really appreciate, which is strong keeper support, because in the game, the game master is called the keeper in the game.
It is.
And it's something that's very important to me, because I feel like in indie TTRPGs, this is much better than a lot of big TTRPGs, in my opinion.
I agree 100%.
Is that there's a lot of focus on players and the things that players get to do and the players get to make, and there is not a lot of support with game masters and dungeon masters and keepers of like tools that are at their disposal for any kind of situation or any kind of like. And there are some games that do it really well, and there are some games that do it not well at all. They don't do a lot of focus on it, and there's games that are completely in the middle that are just like very midline, no either way. And I can attest to this with with Carved from Brindlewood Games, and I purchased, like when we were talking about it, Hearts of Wulin. I purchased it, and I cannot wait to read that. And it is so refreshing to have a game that really, like, utilizing paint the scene and the dark conspiracy sheet and everything. It's very refreshing as somebody that likes to do storytelling and loves the overall. I talk with my hands a lot. I love telling stories. Like when I go out and I get drinks with people or dinner, and I go out to get dinner, I love talking about stories about myself or about other people, because the stories are very important, as we all know. It's why we're here. And it's just, it's very nice to see that there is something here where it's like, I have an answer for everything, and I have something that is going to be provided to me that I can provide to the players as well.
Yeah. Keeper support is really important to me. I mean, it really goes back to what we talked about kind of at the top of this, which was like the origins of the Gauntlet, right? The Gauntlet is so squarely focused on play. Yes, we do podcasts. Yes, we do publishing, and that's all great. But the thing that we're known for, the thing that we do, the trail we have blazed in a lot of ways is play, right? It's gameplay and what works at the table, right? And so when we're making games, that's a major focus, right? This is not like a theoretical exercise for us, right? Like you could go to my YouTube channel and there are literally hundreds of videos of me running these games. And that's because, and so if I'm going to be running this game this much, I want to feel supported, right? Yes. And furthermore, I want other people to feel that way. It is from our publishing. I think one of the things that makes us like, it's just a big focus of our publishing efforts. It's all about like, we expect these games to get played. This is not, we are not content with you leaving this book on your shelf. Like we want you to pull it out and we want you to play it. And so we're going to support you in that way. Now, Brindlewood Bay, the original release sits on Drive-Thru RPG, which, by the way, I should mention, that's pay what you want right now. That's pay what you want until Kickstarter launches. So there's no excuse for people not to go check it out.
Indeed.
But that booklet it's shorter. It probably doesn't have as robust GM support or keeper support as I would like. But the game that came afterwards, The Between, which the Brindlewood Bay will be modeled after for the Kickstarter, that game has tremendous keeper support. It is like, it's guidance, it's guidelines, it's techniques, it's tips, and it's baked into the system level too. Like you said, there's this one technique that's in both games called Paint the Scene, And what paint the scene is whenever, and this is something I invented 6 years ago, whenever the characters enter into a scene or to a location, there's a question that the keeper can pose to the players, and they all have to answer. And the question is all about exploring that scene, not just visually, but sort of thematically, right? So if you are going into a place, for example, let's say we're snooping around this office or whatever, right? And it's like, the question might be, looking around, how do you know this person is really bad at business? How do you know they're not good at their job? And so all the players get to speak and say, well, there's a big stack of disorganized papers, or there's a bunch of unpaid bills. But what they're doing in answering that question is they're building out the scene. And this is something that and it's the players doing it. It's not the keeper having to do it, right? All the keeper has to do is pay attention and then play off of that. When you all are playing the Between on Critical Failsafe, I see it. Like I see Alex asking the question, and then I see you all answering, and you all do a beautiful job. And then I see Alex reincorporating into the scene, right? That's when I say keeper support at the system level, that's what I mean, right? It's an active attempt to get the players involved in what is normally GM work, right? And but there's also just lots of like good guidance and stuff too. The books that we do on Kickstarter, this is one of the major additions from the old digital version on Drive-Thru. Because the old digital version of Drive-Thru is perfectly good and it's playable. But it's only like 40 pages. The new book will be about 120 pages, and a lot of that extra information it's this like, it's just more advice about the game. Like, we've had time to spend with this game now, and we know more things about it, and so we're going to share that with you. And Keeper support's a big part of it. So.
Amazing. Well, I thank you. I appreciate it. You're killing it. Keep killing it. Absolutely fantastic. We're kind of getting up a little bit like long on our time here, but not too long. I mean, I run the show here, so there's more that I want to talk about. I do want to talk about, because we have talked about the player characters, we talked about crowns. I do want to talk about the mysteries, because I know that there are a lot of mysteries available. You get a lot of mysteries in the core book, but there are also a lot that are out there in supplements.
Loads.
And there's also
third-party ones too.
Third-party ones too that are very... I have loads of them in my collection too that I've just picked up and read through that are really good. But yeah, tell us about some of your favorite ones. Tell us about some of the ones that you will find in this book that might be specifically for this Kickstarter release as well.
That's great. Yeah, I love it. So there are two books that we're kickstarting. One, there's Brindlewood Bay, and then there's a book called Nephews in Peril, and they're both kickstarting at the same time. And Brindlewood Bay is the core rules plus the 6 mysteries that I wrote. So the 5 that came with the original game plus the 6th one that I wrote later. Those are all going to be in that book. And then Nephews in Peril is more setting material, like just more about the town of Brindlewood Bay, plus 10 more mysteries. Now we'll have stretch goals, obviously, that will expand that. But at the outset, it's like 10 mysteries in that book. And so there's to play a whole campaign, you don't need that many mysteries, but the idea is we give you all these different mysteries, so you have some variety, right? And there's also a special type of mystery that called a sweeps week mystery, which is not a murder mystery, and it's a little bit more focused on the supernatural, and it's meant to be more of like a standalone thing or like a side mystery. Or if you defeat the midwives, you can keep the game going by doing these sweeps week mysteries, right? So you don't have to stop, right? You're really loving it, you want to keep going, keep going. And so so there's just a lot of variety and options there. As far as my favorite mysteries go, though, oh boy, I love the starter mystery that we recommend everyone start with is called Dad Overboard. It's very good. I don't think it's my favorite, but we like it as a starter because it's a little simpler and it's a little easier to sort of like manage as a keeper, especially if it's your first time. And it has 9 million Schitt's Creek jokes in it, and because that's what I was really into when I wrote it. And it's great. It's great fun though, and it's good. The ones from the core set, though, from the core book that I really, a few that I would highlight, I really love the Great Brindlewood Bay Bake Off. The Great Brindlewood Bay Bake Off it's essentially like this British baking show comes to Brindlewood Bay, and the Mavens are contestants in it. And the the famously stern, steely-eyed judge ends up murdered, and the Mavens have to figure out who did it. And I love that one because if you're a fan of the Great British Baking Show, the references are so thick and humorous, and it's just very, very enjoyable. And it actually has a whole like thing where, as players, you look up the cake that your Maven is making on your phone, and then the keeper judges the cake you found on the internet as if it was the cake that the Maven made. And so like it's just got little fun little things like that in it, right? I also love a mystery called there's one in this sort of in the core book called A Murder Most Mucky, and in that one you are not in Brindlewood Bay. You're in this like little lighthouse town nearby. And that one is great because it's like really creepy. It ups the creepiness factor in a big way. It's like an Innsmouth type town, right? It's really great. And then I would also highlight Jingle Bell Shock. Jingle Bell Shock is the one that is 100% inspired by Knives Out. And if you know Knives Out, you will see all the references pretty clearly. I have baked all my pop culture loves into all this stuff. And so if you want like a good like Knives Out style mystery, Jingle Bell Shock, where a sort of horrible, detestable family gets together for Christmas, and one of them ends up dead. So that was really fun. But Nephews in Peril has loads of like those mysteries are all by like by other authors, and there's so many good ones in there. Our good friend Alicia Furness, who has written a lot of her own Brindlewood Bay hacks, like Paranormal Inc. and The Unquiet Dark, as well as her own mysteries. She's got some mysteries in there. Chris Bissett has a really fabulous mystery in there called Fudge, Jury, and Executioner, which is pretty amazing. Lots of good stuff. The Nephews in Peril mysteries just expand the different types of mysteries, like in different settings, like poker matches and baking or not baking competitions, poker matches, and like antique shop, auctions and just stuff like that, right? It's all about like kind of taking these everyday activities and murderizing them, right? And then you add that layer of like the dark occult conspiracy on top of it, the sort of monstrousness that is lurking underneath, and it all just kind of comes together in this really terrific package. So,
that is, God, I love the variety. I love the references. Friends of mine know that I love putting references to media that I adore. We have a whole Lancer, if you're familiar with the mech game Lancer. We have a whole series it's the Alpha series, but it is based on, each season is based on different albums that I'm a fan
of. Okay, that's cool.
And we've got one, Mezzanine by Massive Attack was the most recent one, and then Crack the Sky by Mastodon. Nice. But yeah, and like I love doing stuff like that. I love references. I love the Great British Bake Off. That has helped me through a lot. I
just finished watching it.
Ooh, there you go. But yeah, no, fantastic. I cannot wait to dive in. And then also to talk about Alicia Furness as well. If you go to Drive Through RPG, you can go to the Gauntlet page. You can check out Brindlewood Bay, pay what you want. There's also The Between. There's all those other games you pick up. But there's also some third-party recommendations that might come up.
The third-party stuff comes up.
There's a lot. There's Sean Patrick Kane's Our Ladies of Safe Harbor, which is a really good one. That's a personal favorite one. My personal favorite that Alicia has done is Who Let the Dogs Out.
Who Let the Dogs Out,
Who Let the Dogs Out is fantastic. It's amazing.
That one's not a murder mystery, which is, we should point out that one's not a murder mystery.
Yeah, it's not a murder mystery.
Like a missing... It's like a Best in Show type
thing. Best in Show, yeah, exactly. And that's I love Best in Show, and it was I absolutely adored it.
That one's super cool if you like are playing with kids and you don't want to like do like murder themes. That's a great one to do.
Exactly. So yeah, definitely check those out. Perfect. All right, so Jason, tell us about this Kickstarter. I have some information here. We know when it's going. We've been talking about it. We've made some hints throughout here. But a comprehensive, just some details that people need to look out for April 26th.
April 26th is when it launches. We'll run through Memorial Day, so May 30th. And so just a little over 30 days. It will have, you'll have some different options in terms of the pledge tiers go. Basically, we have three things that we're making, right?
Yeah.
Well, there'll be all the digital stuff, but then there's 2 hardcover books. So Brindlewood Bay, Nephews in Peril.
Yep.
And there will be tiers where you can get just all digital, or you can get for just a little bit more. Actually, you can get all the digital stuff plus Brindlewood Bay, the hardcover, and then for just a little bit more than that, you can get the 2 books plus the digital stuff, right? And we're going to have one add-on for the campaign, and we thought really hard about this because we wanted it to be special, and so we could have done dice, we could have done playing cards or cards for the whatever. We could have done stuff like that. That would have been fairly easy to do, but we have decided that a very special thing to do for this particular campaign and this game is we are going to do the Brindlewood Bay Community Cookbook. It is a cookbook in the style of a community fundraiser cookbook, and it will have recipes by characters in the setting. So like characters in the setting will have all submitted recipes, and they're real recipes that you can go make things from. But here's the real twist. The book is as if you found it at a garage sale, and when you open it up, there are handwritten notes and doodles in the margins of the recipes. And if you follow those notes, you're playing a solo mystery role-playing game about a murder that was being investigated by the presumed murder maven who used to own that cookbook. And so you got your cookbook, but you also have your little like solo murder mystery game as well. And so that's the add-on that we're doing. And there is a bundle that has the 2 books plus the cookbook. And that's the best value as far as the bundles go. But you'll also be able just to add on the cookbook. Like even if you just got like all digital, you could get all digital plus the cookbook if you wanted. You can add that on. But the best price is to get the bundle.
I mean, definitely as soon as it launches, I'm going to get the highest tier.
And it's still pretty reasonable. I think we're aiming for, I think for all 3 books plus all the digital, I think it's like I want to say $94, which is not bad. I think it's pretty good for 3 books.
That is not bad at all.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad at all. I think it's a good price. But yeah, so the thing about the cookbook is we're super excited about it, and we want it to feel really special and to feel like a found object. And so there actually won't be a digital version of the cookbook. The cookbook will only ever be physical. And we just think it's a really special thing for the Kickstarter, and we hope people are excited about that. But the main reason why you show up, of course, is the 2 books, the Nephews in Peril and Brindlewood Bay. But the cookbook is there for the folks who are like really invested in the setting, and you get a little fun solo mystery game out of it. The solo mystery game is being written by David Morrison, who has written a lot of stuff for us, for The Between, for Brindlewood Bay, for Codex. Just we have a lot of working history with David, and the cookbook material is being gathered and compiled and edited, interestingly by our attorney, who's also our friend. But she has a lot of like passion for that kind of thing, so she's gonna be doing that part of it. And we're just really excited about the about that little add-on. But the whole campaign is gonna be super cool. We're gonna have a bunch of stretch goals. I can't talk about some of them yet, but it's gonna be, the initial stretch goals are just like to make the books better, like just add like refinements to the books themselves, as far as like their physical construction goes. But there will be stretch goals that add brand new mysteries. We have some for the end of the campaign, hopefully, if we've gotten that far, we're going to have stretch goals that do like basically new campaigns. So if you want to do, it's like a whole new campaign. It's like not the midwives. It's like something else, like a new campaign with its own mysteries and its own troubles and stuff. So we'll have that. And that's a big one. Like that's that one that we're planning. That's like one of the big stretch goals if we get that far. So hopefully we will. And
absolutely.
And hopefully everybody will dive in for it and help us get there. So.
Yeah, no, completely agreed. I wish you tons of luck. I can't wait to be there. I've got notification on launch for it. I know we've dropped it in our Discord server. We're gonna keep on dropping it. Awesome. You did something really cool where you included a free mystery if y'all hit a certain amount of followers on the
we're still doing that too. We're still doing that. We're basically like so we have this we're doing like backer kit signups. You can go to the Kickstarter page and do the normal like notify me when it launches or whatever. But what we really want you to do is go to the backer kit one, because that one,
okie dokie.
You go there and you put your email in and you get the same. It's the same effect. We'll let you know when the campaign launches. But but we just have a relationship with BackerKit, and that's kind of where we want the information to be.
Makes sense.
But what we're doing for that one is whenever we hit certain thresholds, we're going to be releasing stuff to the community. So we got 500 signups on that, and and so we've made a mystery freely available that you can go and find, and we will link to that as well. But we've got this mystery that called Exit Stage Death that anybody can go and grab.
That's fantastic.
And the next threshold, we haven't announced it yet, but once we get to 750, we're going to do something else. And we'll just be doing things all the way to the lead up to the campaign, like just like releasing the Kickstarter video, and like just other little like things like that, right? As we sort of hit these little milestones, so just to kind of keep people excited and engaged. But I have a feeling people are pretty excited, so but we'll still try to keep it revved up. Keep everybody really hype as best we can. So go sign up on BackerKit. Go sign up, drop your email so that we can let you know when it launches. So.
Perfect. There we go. I went ahead and dropped that link as well. For that as well. Yeah, of course.
I mean, either's fine. You can go do Kickstarter too if you want.
I mean,
do that.
But
like either is totally cool. But so.
I cannot wait. I wish you all the luck.
Thank you so much.
There's also another cool thing that y'all are doing, and I want to mention this for if anybody that is watching this or listening to this in the future. Because we're about 24 days out and some change out from the launch. If you are on the fence or anything, you haven't done pay what you want or anything about Brindlewood Bay, when the Kickstarter starts on April 26th, the Kickstarter page will include a free download of a preview version of the game that will have the core rules and 2 mysteries included.
That's right.
That will, and I think that is very, very cool of y'all to do, to provide that, just to see if somebody wants to try it out or wants to provide for it.
One other kind of cool thing, which we haven't talked about yet, but is if you do back at any level, digital or higher, as soon as the campaign ends, like on May, is there a May 31st? Whatever's after May 30th that day, the very next day, you're going to get a folder with like something like 20 mysteries in it. Like we're just going to boom hit you with all this like stuff. So you can like start playing immediately. You don't have to even wait on the books.
Yeah.
I mean, the books will be great. You'll love having the books, but like you'll be able to, like I've always said, we want you to play.
Yes.
So we're trying to get this in your hands so you will play the game, because that's what we care about the most. So
Fantastic. Well, Jason, thank you so much for talking with us today.
Thanks for having me on.
Of course, yeah. And I cannot wait. I for one cannot wait for this to happen. Crit fail safe. Alex has already said. We like earlier. Where is it? The funded in 24 hours. Calling it now. I'm gonna say it funded in 24 hours. I'm gonna shoot for 18 hours.
It better be funded. It better be funded in 10 minutes.
Funded in 10 minutes. Let's go. Funded in 10 minutes.
Our last every campaign we've done is funded in an hour.
Funded in an hour.
If we don't fund in an hour. Like that's my goal.
Let's do fund in 30 minutes. Let's do fund in 30 minutes. I'm calling out my own community. I'm calling out Crit Fail Safe's community right now. I'm calling out everybody out there. If we can get this funded in 30 minutes, because I know there's been some that have done 40 minutes. Let's do 30 minutes funded. That would be amazing, and I cannot wait to be there to contribute.
Awesome. If we funded in 30 minutes, I would come back and do something with the stream. I don't know what.
Fantastic. Yeah, we'll do something.
We'll come back and do something.
Yeah, we'll do something. Yeah. I will say personally, me, if we get funded in 30 minutes, I will do a cooking show. I will make a recipe from the cookbook on stream.
Yes, I love it.
So you can all watch it. 30 minutes. Let's go. Fantastic. Perfect. That's a personal challenge.
Lots of scone recipes. I hope you like scones.
Fantastic. I'm terrible at baking, so this is going to be wonderful for me.
Good.
I've got a gas stove and oven, so baking is just a nightmare for me. So yeah. Perfect. All right. Well, go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you, Jason, and then we're going to go ahead and sign off and let everybody go. We're going to be raiding into Gehenna Gaming because they have Duckborg, which is DuckTales Morkborg coming right now. But yeah, go ahead.
There's a DuckTales Brindlewood Bay hack called Beakwood Bay, by the way.
What?
Yeah.
Okay,
it's amazing.
Funded in 30 minutes. We'll bring Jason over for Beakwood.
That's a great project by I think Calvin Johns wrote that, if I'm not mistaken. But in any case, it was a ZineQuest thing. It was super cool.
Amazing.
So I can be found on Twitter at Jason Cordova 6, all one word. Better probably would be to follow the Gauntlet at Gauntlet RPG, or you can follow the publishing side of the Gauntlet at Gauntlet Pub. There's also a Brindlewood Bay account, which is at Brindlewood Bay. And then our website is gauntlet-rpg.com. And our Patreon is patreon.com/gauntlet. So that's us.
All right, amazing. Yeah, I'm getting all those copy and pasted right now because I want them available, especially for the VOD. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jason.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you for everybody that's watched. Thank you to everybody who's been talking. Shout out to Crit Fail Safe. Can't wait to see y'all Monday night for the Between over at Crit Fail Safe. 8 p.m. Central is going to be fantastic. And just gonna give a couple announcements before we leave here. Shout out to our sponsors for the stream: 1985 Games, Dice Envy, and Callow. You're all lovely. You're all wonderful. Thank y'all for supporting us and making what we do possibility. Thank you.
That Dice Kickstarter they're doing is hot.
It is fantastic.
So good. Yeah, it's so good.
We are still doing a giveaway because 1985 Games is like, hey, do you want to do a giveaway? And I was like, yeah, first 20 people that sign up for this, I will do a giveaway of that dice. So not only if you sign up for the Kickstarter, you'll get dice, I will give you another copy.
Those VHS dice are dope. They're so
dope.
Cool.
They're beautiful.
I'm not normally a dice person, but God, I love those dice. They're so cool.
Yeah. As soon as they announced it, I was like, I'm in it. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's do it. But yeah. So shout out to them. Shout out to all of our sponsors there. Go ahead and hit them up. Down on our About section, you can hit our ambassador links for those, our sponsorship links. That'll get you 10% off of your order using code COMFORT at checkout. I will be seeing you all tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern for another episode of Late Night Comfort, where we are interviewing the lovely Sade Smith-Edwards, who is an artist who is big on TikTok with her art. She was also a role player. She was in the Comfort County Saga with our Monster Hearts and Monster of the Week game. She also plays Detective Glenn Bishop on the lovely Craftians Call of Cthulhu podcast, so be sure to tune into that 9 p.m. Eastern. And then we're back on Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern for a very special episode of Carrion Comfort News. We've got news that happens every weekly. We'll be talking about Brindlewood Bay on there. We'll be talking about all this other great stuff that's been happening in the past week. News, wrestling, tabletop, video games, movies, all of that good news. And at the very end of it, we play a game, Jason, at the end of every single one of our news shows. Last week was Spider-Man Villains Smash or Pass. This week, we are doing a tier list, but it's not ranking Disney princes by how cool we think they are. We are ranking Disney princes on whether or not I can beat them in a fight.
I thought you were gonna say hotness because I was like,
we could probably really gonna do that too. But it's gonna be a variety of Disney princes that we have chosen, and we're gonna see what the community and myself and others think of who I can take in a fight. That's all the announcements that I have. I will see y'all on all of those days before. Thank you so much, Jason, and thank you everybody else at home. And do not forget, comfort comes soon. Bye, everybody.